when you're not able to join and all, no?
Yes.
Hi, is this Sunita or Pranavi?
Hi, Manu. Smita.
Hi, Sunita. You were there yesterday?
No, no, I missed yesterday. What was done?
Yeah, the topic is very interesting actually. I mean, it is a little deep also. So basically, we are reading about. We started a new chapter yesterday, which is the pain body. So, and here he talks about how we have a pain body and things like that. So, uh, how ego is supported by the pain body and things like that also. So, it's just taking. So, it is basically the ego is been supported by the pain body, and so he's explaining it in depth about the pain body and all that. So, yeah, I'll just do one thing. I'll since both of you are not there, and since others I don't know, we'll start soon. But I'll just take you through the headings of the chapter so that maybe that can give some background.
That time. Did you cover much? I see you going back a lot.
Yeah, we almost
I
covered
don't even get
half.
the time to actually.
No, no, that's okay. So I'll just tell you one thing, like all of you, like in fact, now that we are recording, so you can go through the recordings also. So
Right.
that way
Yeah, yeah.
you
I
can do
intend
that.
to.
Yeah, that way you can do that while working on something and all, right, like listening just an audio version. It will help better. So that will save time maybe. और टाइम तो 1 घंटा तो लगेगा जो भी रहेगा रिकॉर्डिंग वाला बट और मे बी यू कैन स्किप अ लिटिल पार्ट्स इफ यू फाइंड इट बोरिंग डिस्कशन या जो भी कुछ है किसी का so see the pain body in this it talks about so how like how we process things and all of that the voices in our head and things like that and I'll not go much in depth so then he talks about how emotions and that here in this the birth of emotion he connects the ego with the pain body how it affects and how it impacts basically. So you just go through it like when you because I may not be the better person to explain everything and we don't have time also. So then yeah, here emotions and ego. So how emotions lead to ego and how do we process them and things like that. Then he gives an example of a duck with a human mind. So I'll just share this in very short. So basically, what he tells is he says that as humans we store emotions in our body and we also discussed about this that different body parts which store there is a tendency of storing different emotions basically we talked about it like Pranavi shared and in chakras also different chakras have different energy centers of some particular things and how that's how we store certain kind of emotions in certain body parts so that's how even Louis Hay connects with this right like which if which wherever there is a disease in or anything in any body part there is a psychological particular reason for that that's how he relates she relates it so he talks about this duck and the human mind where he says that when two ducks he just had this observation which he shares in his other videos also I guess so ducks and animals they don't store emotions in their body they just let it go so he sees two ducks fighting and as soon as the fight is over or whatever they happened they just go away two other ways and they just flap their wings very like vigorously or they will move their body and they'll just remove it all like it they'll just let it go so I think he says that we don't want like as humans we don't do that we just so our emotions get stored in our bodies so carrying the past so that's so then he explains then there is was this story where maybe you have heard of it where a monk carried there were two monks walking from a river and one of the monk carries a lady who was struggling to cross the river but the other one after 5 6 hours he asked him that why did you carry her on your back we are not supposed to touch women right so and then the other monk says that I left her 5 years back 5 hours back I left her on her destination, but I think you are still carrying her with you right now. Just like we just carry things in our emotions, we just hold on to things, we relive our past. So it's talk about that. So then it talks about individual and collective. So here it talks about how we pass on our own fears and insecurities and traumas to our kids. So, kids, basically, kids was the topic that was brought up by Deepa actually. Here he talks about that we pass on our things to others basically. And then here the topic is how the pain body renews itself. So, so basically, how the pain body is it's like the pain body wants to be in pain, it feeds on ego and things like that. So how it wants to just live through it. So that's what we are reading right now. Also, we're still reading this, and this part we covered. The pain body feeds on your thoughts. So here he talks about how our thoughts create a pain body, and enhances it. So what we can do, maybe for some of you who are not there yesterday, let's read from one of the earlier parts. So shall we read from how the pain body renews itself, or how the pain body? Let's read from here. How the pain body feeds on your thoughts onwards. We have read it yesterday, but just for the sake of a few of you who are not there and for you to be able to relate, let's start from here. And we might, since we're starting a little late on the reading today, 15 minutes is makes a lot of difference, I've seen. So what we'll do, maybe we can go little extending the session today. So in that case, whoever can stay back, you stay back, others might leave, and we'll start to read a little faster, but keep it soft, so that others might are able to understand. So who would like to read? We have names, yeah. Shilpa has written a name. Oh, Emma, is it? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mansi, yeah, your voice is echoing a lot.
I put the other thing on mute, but still I don't know. Now I'll be on mute, so it won't. So yeah, Shilpa, yes, you can start. Others
Also,
also put your
I
name.
caught up, Mansi, I listened to the recording from yesterday, so I'm caught up.
Okay, great, awesome. Others, like there were two, three of them who are not, who are new to this. So, and others had to join. So we just, and all the ones who had joined were
Yeah.
not there
No, it's
yesterday.
okay.
So we
I
just
think
go
we
right.
can reread, and we are, anyways, I think from where we left off yesterday, the drama thing, how pain
This is
body,
just one point. This is
that,
just one
uh,
part before that. Yeah.
right, right. And we
And
are
it will
only left
connect,
with like
yes.
10 pages, I think, in the chapter. So yeah,
Yeah,
we should be good with respect to reading. Yeah.
yeah, that will be great, in fact. Yeah. And we'll stop at this chapter today. So whatever covers. So yeah, Shilpa, you can start, and others, anyone who would like to read, please put your names. Deepa has also put her name. Yeah, you can go with that order. Yeah, Shilpa, please start.
Okay, thank you. Um, yeah. So, how the pain body feeds on your thoughts. The pain body awakens from its dormancy when it gets hungry, when it is time to replenish itself. Alternatively, it may get triggered by an event at any time. The pain body that is ready to feed can use the most insignificant event as a trigger. Something somebody says or does, or even a thought. If you live alone or there is nobody around at the time, the pain body will feed on your thoughts. Suddenly, your thinking becomes deeply negative. You were most likely unaware that just prior to the influx of negative thinking, a wave of emotion invaded your mind as a dark and heavy mood, as anxiety or fury, anger. All thought is energy, and the pain body is now feeding on the energy of your thoughts. But it cannot feed on any thought. You don't need to be particularly sensitive to notice that a positive thought has a totally different feeling tone than a negative one. It is the same energy, but it vibrates at a different frequency. A happy, positive thought is indigestible to the pain body. It can only feed on negative thoughts because only those. Please scroll. It can only feed on negative thoughts because only those thoughts are compatible with its own energy field. All thoughts are vibrating energy fields in ceaseless motion. The chair you sit on, the book you're holding in your hands, appear solid and motionless only because that is how your senses perceive their vibrational frequency. That is to say, the incessant movement of the molecules, atoms, electrons, and subatomic particles that together create what you perceive as a chair, a book, a tree, or a body. When we perceive as physical matter, what we perceive as physical matter is energy vibrating at a particular range of frequencies. Thoughts consist of the same energy vibrating at a higher frequency than matter, which is why they cannot be seen or touched. Thoughts have their own range of frequencies, which negative thoughts at the lower end of the scale and positive thoughts at the higher. The vibrational frequency of the pain body resonates with that of negative thoughts, which is why only those thoughts can feed the pain body. The usual pattern of thought creating emotion is reversed in the case of the pain body, at least initially. Emotion from the pain body quickly gains control of your thinking. And once your mind has been taken over by the pain body, your thinking becomes negative. The voice in your head will be telling sad, anxious, or angry stories about yourself or your life, about other people, about past, about future, or imaginary events. The voice will be blaming, accusing, complaining, imagining, and you are totally identified with whatever the voice says. Believe all its distorted thoughts. At that point, the addiction to unhappiness has set in. It is not so much that you cannot stop your train of negative thoughts, but that you don't want to. That this is because the pain body at that time is living through you, pretending to be you. And to the pain body, pain is pleasure. It eagerly devours every negative thought. In fact, the usual voice in your head has now become the voice of the pain body. It has taken over the internal dialogue. A vicious circle becomes established between the pain body and your thinking. Every thought feeds the pain body, and in turn, the pain body generates more thoughts. At some point, after a few hours or even a few days, it has replenished itself and returned to its dormant stage, leaving behind a depleted organism and a body that is much more susceptible to illness. If that sounds to you like a psychic parasite, you are right. That's exactly what it is. How the pain body feeds on drama. If there are other people around, preferably your partner or a close family member, the pain body will attempt to provoke them, push their buttons, as the expression goes, so it can feed on the ensuing drama. Pain bodies love intimate relationships and families because that is where they get most of their food. It is hard to resist another person's pain body that is determined to draw you into a reaction. Instinctively, it knows your weakest, most vulnerable points. If it doesn't succeed the first time, it will try again and again. It is raw emotion, looking for more emotion. The other person's pain body wants to awaken yours so that both pain bodies can mutually energize each other. Many relationships go through violent and destructive pain body episodes at regular intervals. It is almost unbearably painful for a young child to have to witness the emotional violence of their parents' pain bodies, and yet that is the fate of millions of children all over the world, the nightmare of their daily existence. That is also one of the main ways in which the human pain body is passed on from generation to generation. After each episode, the partners make up, and there is an interval of relative peace to the limited extent that the ego allows it. Excessive consumption of alcohol will often activate the pain body, particularly in men, but also in some women. When a person becomes drunk, he goes through a complete personality change as the pain body takes him over. A deeply unconscious person whose pain body habitually replenishes itself through physical violence often directs it towards his spouse or children. When he becomes sober, he is truly sorry and may say he will never do this again, and he means it. The person who is talking and making promises, however, is not the entity that commits the violence, and so you can be sure that it will happen again and again unless he becomes present, recognizes the pain body within himself, and thus disidentifies from it. In some cases, counseling can help him do that. Most pain bodies want to both inflict and suffer pain, but some are predominantly either perpetrators or victims. In either case, they feed on violence, whether emotional or physical. Some couples who may think they have fallen in love are actually feeling drawn to each other because their respective pain bodies complement each other. Sometimes the roles of perpetrator and victim are already clearly prescribed the time they meet. Some marriages that are thought to be made in heaven are actually made in hell. If you ever lived with a cat, you will know that even when the cat seems to be asleep, it still knows what is going on because of the slightest unusual noise, its ears will move toward it, and its eyes may open slightly. Dormant pain bodies are the same. On some level, they are still awake, ready to jump into action when an appropriate trigger presents itself. Um, could someone take over? Who would like to read? I'm sorry, I can't see the next person.
Yes,
Yeah,
Deepti
I would
has
like
been
to.
here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Uh, in intimate relationships, am I reading the right place, Mansi?
Yes, yes, yes.
In intimate relationships, pain bodies are often clever enough to lie low until you start living together and preferably have signed a contract committing yourself to be with this person for the rest of your life. You don't just marry your wife or husband, you also marry her or his pain body, and your spouse marries yours. It can be quite a shock when, perhaps not long after moving in together after the honeymoon, you find suddenly one day there is a complete personality change in your partner. Her voice becomes harsh or shrill as she accuses you, blames you, shouts at you, most likely over a relatively trivial matter, or she becomes totally withdrawn. What's wrong? You ask. Nothing is wrong, she says. But the intensely hostile energy she emanates is saying everything is wrong. When you look into her eyes, there is no light in them anymore. It is as if a heavy wheel has descended, and the being you know and love, which before was able to shine through her ego, is now totally obscured. A complete stranger seems to be looking back at you, and in her eye there is hatred, hostility, bitterness, or anger. When she speaks to you, it is not your spouse or partner who is speaking, but the pain body speaking through them. Whatever she's saying is the pain body's version of reality, a reality completely distorted by fear, hostility, anger, and a desire to inflict and receive more pain. At this point, you may wonder whether this is your partner's real face that you had never seen before, and whether you made a dreadful mistake in choosing this person. It is, of course, not the real face, just the pain body that temporarily has taken possession. It would be hard to find a partner who doesn't carry a pain body, but it would perhaps be wise to choose someone whose pain body is not excessively dense. Dense pain bodies. Some people carry dense pain bodies that are never completely dormant. They may be smiling, making polite conversation, but you do not need to be psychic to sense that some seething ball of unhappy emotion in them just beneath the surface, waiting for the next event to react to, the next person to blame or confront, the next thing to be unhappy about. Their pain bodies can never get enough or always hungry. They magnify the ego's need for enemies. Through their reactivity, relatively insignificant matters are blown out of all proportion as they try to pull other people into their drama by getting them to react. Some get involved in protracted, ultimately pointless battles or case studies with organizations or individuals. Others are consumed by obsessive hatred towards an spouse or partner, unaware the pain they carry inside. By their reaction, they project the pain into events and situations. Due to complete lack of self awareness, they cannot tell the difference between an event and their reaction to the event. To them, the unhappiness and even the pain itself is out there in the event or situation. Being unconscious of their innate state, they don't even know that they are deeply unhappy, that they are suffering. Sometimes people with such dense pain bodies become activists fighting for a cause. The cause may indeed be worthy, and they are sometimes successful at first in getting things done. However, the negative energy that flows into what they say and do, and the unconscious need for enemies and conflict tend to generate increasing opposition to their cause. Usually, they also end up creating enemies within their own organization because wherever they go, they find reasons for feeling bad. And so their pain body continues to find exactly what it is looking for: entertainment, the media, and the pain body. If you were not familiar with your contemporary civilization, if you had come here from another age or another planet, one of the things that would amaze you is that millions of people love and pay money to watch humans kill and inflict pain on each other and call it entertainment. Why do violent films attract such large audiences? There is an entire industry, a large part of which fuels a human addiction to unhappiness. People obviously watch those films because they want to feel bad. What is it in humans that loves to feel bad and call it good? The pain body, of course. A large part of the entertainment industry caters to it. So, in addition to reactivity, negative thinking, and personal drama, the pain body also renews itself vicariously through the cinema and television screen. Pain bodies write and produce these films, and pain bodies pay to watch them. It is always wrong to show and watch violence on television and the cinema screen. Does all such violence cater to the pain body? At the current evolutionary stage of humanity, violence is still not only all pervasive, but even on the increase, as the old egoic consciousness, amplified by the collective pain body, intensifies prior to its inevitable demise. If films show violence in its wider context, if they show its origin and its consequences, show what it does to the victim as well as the perpetrator, show the collective unconsciousness that lies behind it and is passed on from generation to generation, the anger, the hatred that lives in humans as the pain body, then those films can fulfill a vital function in the awakening of humanity. They can act as a mirror in which humanity sees its own sanity. That in you which recognizes madness as madness, even if it is your own, is sanity, is the arising awareness in the end of insanity. Such films do exist and they do not fuel the pain body. Some of the best anti war films are films that show the reality of war rather than a glamorized version of it. The pain body can only feed on films in which violence is portrayed as normal or even desirable human behavior, or that glorified violence with the sole purpose of generating negative emotion in the viewer and so become a fix for the pain addicted pain body. The popular tabloid press does not primarily sell news but negative emotion, food for the pain body. Outrage screams the 3-inch headline of bastards. The British tabloid press excels at this. They know that negative emotion sells far more papers than news does. There is a tendency in the news media in general, including television, to thrive on negative news. The worse things get, the more excited the presenter becomes, and often the negative excitement is generated by the media itself. Pain bodies just love it. Is there anyone who'd like to read?
Yeah, I can take.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. The collective female pain body. The collective dimension of the pain body has different strands in it. Tribes, nations, races all have their own collective pain body, some heavier than others, and most members of that tribe, nation, or race have a share in it to a greater or lesser degree. Almost every woman has her share in the collective female pain body, which tends to become activated particularly just prior to the time of menstruation. At that time, many women become overwhelmed by intense negative emotion. The suppression of the female principle, especially over the past 2000 years, has enabled the ego to gain absolute supremacy in the collective human psyche. Although women have egos, of course, the ego can take root and grow more easily in the male form than in the female. This is because women are less mind identified than men. They are more in touch with the inner body and the intelligence of the organism, where the intuitive faculties originate. The female body is less rigidly encapsulated than the male, has greater openness and sensitivity towards other life forms, and is more attuned to the natural world. If the balance between male and female energies had not been destroyed on our plant, or is it planet, the ego's growth would have been greatly curtailed. We would not have declared war on nature, and we would not be so completely alienated from our being. Nobody knows the exact figure because records were not kept, but certain it seems certain that during a 300-year period, between 3 and 5 million women were tortured and killed by the Holy Inquisition, an institution founded by the Roman Catholic Church to suppress heresy. This sure ranks together with the Holocaust as one of the darkest chapters in human history. It was enough for a woman to show a love for animals, walk alone in the fields or woods, or gather medicinal plants to be branded a witch, then tortured and burnt at the stake. The sacred feminine was declared demonic, and an entire dimension largely disappeared from human experience. Other cultures and religions, such as Judaism, Islam, and even Buddhism, also suppressed the female dimension, although in a less violent way. Women's status was reduced to being childbearers and men's property. Males who denied the female even within themselves were now running the world, and a world that was totally out of balance. The rest is history, or rather, a case history of insanity. Who was responsible for this fear of the feminine that could only be described as acute collective paranoia? We could say, of course, men were responsible. But then, why in many ancient pre Christian civilizations, such as the Sumerian, Egyptian, and Celtic, were women respected and the feminine principle not feared but revered? What is that? What is that suddenly made? What is it that suddenly made men feel threatened by the female, the evolving ego in them? It knew it could gain full control of our planet only through the male form, and to do so, it had to render the female powerless. In time, the ego also took over most women, although it could never become as deeply entrenched as in them as in men. We now have a situation in which the suppression of the feminine has become internalized even in most women. The sacred feminine, because it is suppressed, is felt by many women as emotional pain. In fact, it has become part of their pain body, together with the accumulated pain suffered by women over millennia through childbirth, rape, slavery, torture, and violent death. But things are changing rapidly now. With many people becoming more conscious, the ego is losing its hold on the human mind. Because the ego was never as deeply rooted in women, it is losing its hold on women more quickly than on men. National and racial pain bodies. Certain countries in which acts of collective violence were suffered or perpetrated have a heavier collective pain body than others. This is why older nations tend to have stronger pain bodies. It is also why younger countries, such as Canada or Australia, and those that have remained more sheltered from the surrounding madness, such as Switzerland, tend to have lighter collective pain bodies. Of course, in those countries, people still have their personal pain body to deal with. If you are sensitive enough, you can feel a heaviness in the energy field of certain countries as soon as you step off the plane. In some countries, one can sense an energy field of latent violence just underneath the surface of everyday life. In some countries, for example, in the Middle East, the collective pain body is so acute that a significant part of the population finds itself forced to act it out in an endless and insane cycle of perpetration and retribution through which the pain body renews itself continuously. In countries where the pain body is heavy but no longer acute, there has been a tendency for people to try and sensitize themselves to the collective emotional pain. In Germany and Japan, through work, in some countries, through widespread indulgence in alcohol, which, however, can also have the opposite effect of stimulating the pain body, particularly if consumed in excess. China's heavy pain body is to some extent mitigated by the widespread practice of Tai Chi, which amazingly was not declared illegal by the communist government that otherwise felt threatened by anything it cannot control. Every day in the streets and city parks, millions practice this movement meditation that stills the mind. This makes a considerable difference to the collective energy field and goes some way towards diminishing the pain body by reducing thinking and generating presence. Spiritual practices that involve the physical body, such as Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga, are also increasingly being embraced in the Western world. These practices do not create a separation between body and spirit and are helpful in weakening the pain body. They will play an important role in the global awakening. The collective racial pain body is pronounced in Jewish people who have suffered persecution over many centuries. Not surprisingly, it is strong as well in Native Americans whose numbers were decimated and whose culture all but destroyed by the European settlers. In Black Americans, too, the collective pain body is pronounced. Their ancestors were violently uprooted, beaten into submission, and sold into slavery. The foundation of American economic prosperity rested on the labor of 4 to 5 million black slaves. In fact, the sufferings inflicted on Native and Black Americans has not remained confined to these two races, but has become part of the collective American pain body. It is always the case that both victim and perpetrator suffer the consequences of any act of violence, oppression, or brutality. For what you do to others, you do to yourself. It doesn't really matter what proportion of your pain body belongs to your nation or race, or what proportion is personal. In either case, you can only go beyond it by taking responsibility for your inner state now. Even if blame seems more than justified, as long as you blame others, you keep feeding the pain body with your thoughts and remain tapped in your ego. There is only one perpetrator of evil on the planet: human unconsciousness. That realization is true forgiveness. With forgiveness, your victim identity dissolves and your true power emerges, the power of presence. Instead of blaming the darkness, you bring in the light.
Yeah, we come to the end of the chapter over here and we stop here for today. I will also share the podcast link, the this thing, so it will help us go a little deeper into understanding of this part. So yeah, so we will, we can open up for discussion now. So yeah, it was a different kind of read, na, and heavy as in easy to understand, but heavy to process, I would say. So we need to process it fully and to actually understand it fully. So yeah, we can open up for discussion. Please feel free to share whatever you would like to.
Yeah. Shall I say something?
Yeah, please.
Um, One of my ancestor, my great aunt, she was one of the first person in our country to be elected as a council member way back before the independence, 1920s, I think. So this lady, she was a freedom fighter, but also believed in Mahatma Gandhi's principles of non-violence. So I come from a family where women have always had the suffrage rights, and we have been independent. But at the same time, there is another section of the family wherein women are conditioned to suffer and through the form of sacrifice and to adjust. And somewhere, the pain of making sacrifices or taking in a secondary role in the family has affected some members, some female, some women members in the family. But then others have been very strong also. I've seen both the sides. But one thing which is common is that even if your kith and kin has suffered, we feel the pain, we sense the pain, and we become defensive and are always on the attacking mode because we don't want to endure the pain again. Don't want to be taken as a secondary person in whatever format. So I don't know, somewhere while reading all this, I just felt that, why some people in the family, although they are so empowered and strong, are having some negative emotions. So maybe it is coming from the shared experiences of an ancestor. So that is one thing. Another thing is that once we have gone through an emotional pain or a spiritual pain, it takes a lot of time. The physical pain, yeah, it might heal, but the emotional pain which it leaves behind, the residual of it, is long lasting. It actually, through maybe through the genes or through the DNA, it passes on to the next generation. So people sometimes are confrontational because they want to act defensive, because they don't want to endure the pain. And knowingly or unknowingly, these ladies inflict pain on the next generation, on their daughters, on their daughter-in-laws. So we have to rethink why we feel like this, and we should analyze this pain so that we don't pass it on to someone else. Yeah, this is a very intense. The writer has put in all about the slave thing, and the suffering from war, and how we take in the negative emotion, and how the media talks about the suffering. Maybe we relate more to the suffering than to the joy. And yeah, I'm noticing that a lot. People want to stick on to the pain, maybe to gain sympathy or attention, or to justify what they are doing. So totally relates. And I read about this in two other books, Same as Ever and in Outliers. There also the writer talks about some of the best inventions, discoveries have happened during war and during the pain and suffering. And the negative in our mind, when the Wright brothers invented the aeroplane, the flying crafts, they thought more about the war than about transporting people off for peaceful purposes. Totally relate to this negative mentality which people have due to the pain and suffering. Uh, it's something, we have to, as a civilization, as mankind, as humankind, we have to rethink that we don't push it on to the next generation or to our surroundings. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Deepa. Yeah. Very introspective. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to add something, share something that they that popped up for them?
Yeah, for me,
Yes.
the fact about our how sacrificing, what Deepa had also mentioned, that I feel I am myself a part of carrying on or passing on this thing. That is when I find it very odd when I see the woman of the house who's not adjusting or sacrificing, because that is the way I have been taught. And unconsciously, subconsciously, I'm actually um, passing on that attitude to my daughter also, which is I now, when I was reading this, I realized that um, that would not be the correct way of dealing with it. But I have been brought up with with this premise or this principle or this value that the lady of the house has to be sacrificing, should be sacrificing her needs. Um, First, preference is always given to the man of the house, the kids, and then comes your own preferences. So, yeah, this made me realize as to how this would be linked to ego. Never made that connection. I thought this was a great value that my mom, had instilled in me, that you should be there for everyone, and your needs should, because of your maternal nature. That was linked with the role of a mom and the lady of the house from that perspective. So yeah, it really makes you think as to how unknowingly you are part of a process which needs to be looked into deeper and analyzed as to whether it is the right way to do things.
Yeah, in fact, we all go through it. Like, it's not that nobody can be an exception, to be honest. Like, however good you might have been brought up or everything, but I think everyone has this and we have to accept it. Even yesterday you mentioned, right? Like, some part you mentioned that even if you have been raised by very enlightened parents, you will still have a pain body by the societal experiences. So nobody can escape it. It's just that we have to acknowledge, and maybe now that with this new awareness we can maybe shift things for us. And that's why I love this, that when we read that we unlearn so many things, right? It's not just learning, it's also unlearning of so many things. So many beliefs get shattered, so many conditionings get altered, so that's how we evolve. So yeah, I love the part today. And personally, like, I'm just speaking, since I'm speaking, I'll share my part too. So I had a very bad fight with my husband yesterday, and it's been like a while. We had some trigger going on. So everything was so relatable. So I could resonate with almost every word of what he had shared, and I could see it from that perspective, like from a helicopter view today. So what we were both going through today morning, he had left for for a long this thing, like he's gone for the whole day. He's out of town and he's left me a letter. So I mean, we were just and I was just thinking, I hope he should read this, or maybe I'll just make him read it today when he comes back. So I could relate with everything, how like all that the what the author has mentioned, right? Like, the author has mentioned, right, like what happens, how one person gets triggered and the other person is made, the drama part and all of that. So I could literally, like, it was like a literal what we would say, demonstration I could have in front of my eyes, how we process things and all. So it was so aligned. So I'm so grateful for this understanding also. I had read this before, but when we actually are able to relate it with practical real life experiences, or maybe people around us, even that part, like where the author said that there are many females obviously having pain bodies during menstruation. We get it gets whatever highlighted, whatever it gets even more powerful or whatever. So I could relate with many of those parts, like as a female. And also the other part, like where many people, and also that part was very interesting, where he said that we don't just marry our spouses, we marry their pain bodies. So that's how I have read this in another like there was this psychological based book where they have shared that we actually choose our partners based on our traumas also at many a times toxic people come together because as the author rightly mentioned that because they need that, and it's already defined who will be dominating and who will be the um tolerate or something like that, because that's how we attract, because they say right, we are energy beings and vibrationally we attract things. So could could relate with so many things, and if we are like just being a little aware of our surroundings, we can see this everywhere. And good that this is now come to our knowledge. Now we can try this small shift from us, right? At least now we are in awareness of these things. So and the reality I feel is, although we read all these things, and we know all these things now, when reality pops in, when practically things happen in our surroundings or with us, although it's there somewhere in the background, it's not that easy to act upon it. So it's like a process, like slowly. Like yesterday also, I remember I was somewhere trying to analyze which part is ego, who is acting from the space of ego, am I acting from the space of ego, he's acting from, so all of that was although it was going on in the background, uh, we still need to process things, right? So yeah, thank you for giving me this time to speak. But yeah, I just could relate so much yesterday and today, and this was a wonderful experience. So yeah, anyone else?
Yeah, what I would like to say is that, the intention, I believe, from the author is not to label groups as victims. Like, women are not, he doesn't want to say that even though women have faced discrimination, Black Americans, were uprooted from Africa and made to be slaves. Native communities, still are poor, and, they lost their land. All that, the intention is not to portray them as victims, but just that they underwent so much more pain, emotional pain, and that pain is more visible, and it is something that is part of their psyche now. So from a healing perspective, what does one need to do is what he is talking about. Like, how does one heal from a lot of negativity or a lot of pain? Is one thing what he's talking about is like in the example of China, that they started doing Tai Chi. And Tai Chi was one thing that the government still did not, did not abolish. So something which is like yoga or Qigong or any of these things which are actually all these things actually help evolve that and help that emotional healing. And that is important for all of us, that we create that pathway for healing in ourselves, because we are also, not just because we may be women or we may be part of a certain community, but we are also capable of feeling that pain body all the time. And we have to be able to heal ourselves. And what is it that we need to do to be able to do this? That I think is like, he's kind of brought it to a point where probably the next chapter is going to be about how to heal from this. So I think it's a very good topic, and he's kind of bringing building up the momentum to go to the next topic.
Yeah, yeah, very well. So the next chapter is breaking free. So yes, yes, it is. It is about that. First is now till this point, I think he's just bringing us to the awareness. First, he talked about ego, and ego creates all this, right? Like so. Yeah, very true
Yes.
and very well said. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, good
Deepa,
morning to all.
Shilpa. Yeah, yeah.
I just
Pranavi.
want to add in one thing. I know I
Yeah.
already spoke, just I wanted to add in one thing. Um, what he spoke about, in marriage, we are supposed to accept our spouses with everything in good and bad and all that. So I sort of, my observation that throughout our life, with our spouses, we do see a different personality in them again and again and again. And we are taken for surprise. not only in our spouse, but also in friendship, in other relationship. I see this new personalities, emerging even in my pets. So that is something, I found it so hard hitting. And also, how well this writer has analyzed everything, and how deep his research has been. That is like mind boggling. It's like a split personality, another new personality emerging each day, due to an incident or an event, or normally. So we see that unexpected, personalities emerge in our, like he said, no, the wife is shrieking, and after the honeymoon period is over, and shouting and screaming. Yeah, we do see that sort of personalities in both husbands as well as in wives, in friendship, in other relationship, also in animals. So unexpected behavior. So yeah, and we have to analyze that, and that is coming from the pain body, and it is not them. It is another aspect of them, and we should try to understand that and not allow it to affect us in a negative way.
Yeah, yeah. True, true. Yes. Yeah. Shilpa and Richa, you have raised your hand. So, and I think Pranavi was also trying to speak. So we all can go one by one. Also be a little mindful. Let's be a little mindful of the time. It's 8 not 4. So we might go for another 10 minutes or so. So yeah, please share.
Okay. Uh, Thanks to all the others who shared. Um, I would like to talk about the collective pain body. And there is, since I have had the experience of living in many countries, and much more in the same country as from where their author comes. So, uh, Eckhart, I realize when he talks about this pain body of the German pain body, when I went there for the first time, I also felt that heaviness. So I know exactly what he's feeling. And then I keep on checking on my children if they are carrying this pain body, because it was very important for me that they don't carry the burden. I still feel that they also carry, but not as much as the other Germans, or as their father. And so I recognize this, and you go to different countries, you find different weight. So I've also been in contact with the Rwandan refugees, some of them who came down to Europe, and also with the from Serbia and Bosnia. Now, of course, it's so far away from India, so we don't even think about it. But as the author has mentioned, and that's what I am totally afraid of, is whatever, we say it's not going to affect us because it's so far away. The Israel war is so far away from us. But it is going to affect us, generations going on. And that's what I've also seen in Panama when I stayed with the tribes. Their behavior, and they have a word for it. They don't call themselves victims, but they carry the pain, the women especially. And in India, there is also this collective pain. Not that only I felt, but there were a group of women who had come here a few years ago. I wasn't a part of it, but they came here a few years ago to a women's conference. I don't remember exactly how it was named. And they were they stayed, there's something called Panchamama. So they're called the grandmothers of the earth. So they come together and then they pray for resolving the collective uh, I'm calling it pain body, okay, from the trip. So I repeat what I said yesterday. We have a responsibility not only towards uh, being compassionate and dissolving our own pain body, but also to our collective pain body. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful perspective, Shilpa. Yes, yeah, that was a wonderful point, and thank you for highlighting that. And you having traveled places, yes, obviously you could have experienced that energy of different countries, and now maybe with this awareness, you'll be more mindful. Maybe you have read this book before also, so you must be aware of it already. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, Viren, I think he has to leave. So Richa, I'll just let him speak first, and then you talk, and then if anyone else wants to speak. Yeah, I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, 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 Viren.
Yeah. So I just want to share like uh, during the menstrual cycle. So we are in our society. The opposite gender is generally not encouraged to discuss on this part much more, right? So with my wife, so whenever I have discussing, so I know that there is a hormonal changes, there is a internal pain, mood swings, all happens, right? So what I could do or what I have done, right? So I have marked. So generally, what we are doing, we are marking birthdays and anniversaries in our calendar, right? So what I have done, I have marked 2 to 3 days every month that these are the dates when wife will be in this cycle. So I need to be calm from my end. So that help I am doing. So I think we can have this type of something we need to understand. So that will help to weaken the pain body. So
Yes,
that's I
awesome.
want to share.
Wow, this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I think I wish there were more men in the room to listen to this, and like, that's true. Like it does help because these small contributions make a huge difference, right? So that you're aware. Like even my husband, I know he tells me like whenever I start getting sometimes some irritated, and if the dates are near, he'll be like, uh, okay, I understand where is this coming from. So I think this awareness helps a lot. So yeah, thank you for sharing that and being open to share that. Thank you so much. That was wonderful share.
Can I just share? Just I'll be very short. In Pakistan,
Yeah,
in
yeah, please.
Balochistan, yeah. Can I?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So in Balochistan in Pakistan, there is a group of people, and when the women have their periods, they're supposed to go to a outhouse, but that outhouse is made very, very, very nice. So their women really like to go there. So even when they get when they deliver their children, they also go in there, and they're looked after other women. So women look after the other women, and they have a way of collectively dissolving their pain bodies. They have a certain meditation, certain dance forms, certain singing forms to do this during that time. And men in that tribe in Pakistan are they allow they take their women over there. I think that's so fantastic, and it's not so far away from India, but unfortunately we cannot go
No,
there.
no, just to add to what you shared, even India has that. But now we have lost that culture because many people like if you go to any ancestral houses which are still kept intact. There used to be this, like, especially in South, maybe, or even in Maharashtra, in some parts. Like, in the traditional houses, there used to be this special rooms called Bayatnichi room or something like it was meant to be for women to, and I feel there is a lot of misconception, and over time maybe all this have happened because women not going to temples on these dates, or especially like in some cultures they were made to sit aside, but this was taken negatively, I feel, later on through because of the unawareness of people. But initially the ones I think who started with this practices, maybe it was for a reason of so that the woman get rest, and the woman stores her energy, and there were all good reasons behind them, but later on they were taken in a different ways. So we have these things basically, but maybe we are not like protected enough. So yeah, I just wonder. Yeah, Richa, I think you want to share something. Please speak. Sorry, it took you so long to get your chance. Please share.
No, that's okay. I think we are also on time, but like on our time, right? So I can share tomorrow. That's okay. There was nothing
No, no,
there's
no,
nothing
it's okay.
urgent. I don't want to delay the prolong the session.
No, but tomorrow we'll be reading a new chapter altogether, na? So please do share. We can go for
Okay.
another two,
It
three days.
it
Not a
I because no,
problem.
I was not sure if people have to leave since it's morning time, so I just
No,
wanted
no,
to be mindful. Okay, so I'll be
whoever
quick.
wants to leave can please leave, and you can always check on the recording part. But yeah, please share. Whoever wants to share, don't go unshared. Like I don't know if that's the right word, but don't go without
Yeah.
sharing. Please go.
Yeah,
Please share it.
that's okay. And actually, yeah, I was also thinking like I had a suggestion because we were doing good in between, like few books ago, where we were kind of like doing a loose timekeeping, right? I think that will help because that way then everyone can gets the time to share, so that it can be like not timekeeping for individual person, but in general like that awareness, and I think it will help us with our awareness practice also that this book is teaching us,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe
we are
something.
normally we are aware, not a problem. We normally nowadays, like since we decided on the breakup of time, we normally don't go extended a lot. थोड़ा बहुत हो जाता है. Sometimes it happens थोड़ा ज़्यादा, but we are doing quite good since that initial attempt of keeping time and dividing time and all. So we are doing good, not a problem. And yes, we can obviously do that timekeeping, that will help. And what is happening, like just to share with, since we are on this topic, we are starting late. So what happens, many people are joining very late, so I would highly insist we start sharp at 7, and maximum 7:05. If we have at least 2 3 people in the room, we can start with the reading. So that way
Yeah.
we will be able to manage time better, because we're starting late. I'm seeing that exactly that 10 15 minutes extension is happening because we're starting at that time. Today also we
Right.
started at 7:15. So we'll try to be joining very quick at 7 sharp, and then we'll close at 8 sharp, that way. So let's do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, because if we start on time, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And then also another thing, like this is just in general for everyone, and I hope I'm not coming across as inappropriate in saying this. But a lot of times, what happens is some people are joining much later, and they are probably not even in the reading session, and they tend to share first, right? I think that is unfair to the people who have been reading throughout that day, right? So if in general, like I would want to urge everyone to be aware of that also, right? If you have stepped in later, maybe just listen to what the shares are first. I think it will help as as a collective group as well, because that way we don't run into the danger of someone sharing something which is probably not entirely in context of what was read today. So just to be extra aware. But yeah, as far as my share is concerned, I really want to thank everyone who shared before me, and I could draw some of the parallels, right, that I wanted to share from what Deepa, Sunita, Shilpa, everyone has, and Mansi, you have shared. Viren has, of course, left, but I truly found it very, very nice and a very sweet thing that he mentioned. And that kind of awareness, if can be there in all the couples, I think it will be a much easier way to live. So I really resonated with his idea and his that extra step that he's also keeping it in his calendar. That is amazing. Like what I have been doing with my husband is because my friend had suggested this years ago. So right, like before my periods are coming in, I warn him. Like I just let him know that okay, this is going to happen. So let's just make sure that we are mindful and not meddle. So that is one practice that we follow. And then, as related to the other topics of sharing, like something about the collective pain body, and especially how women have been carrying it generation after generation. I have obviously read a lot about this, in other resources as well, and I have felt this too because in this lifetime, of course, for the past like 22 years or so, and I know that some of you might be aware, those of you who know me through the shares that I have done for the prior books, that I've worked a lot on my emotional healing, and which I now also understand that I was working on my pain body. I did not know the term, but I used to have like I have experienced physical pain and suffering through various reasons. And the reason is not important, but it is because of trauma and whatnot. So I've worked for years. And what happened last year was some very small trigger. Uh, Caused me again some pain, and I wasn't even able to understand where this pain is coming from, because in isolation that episode was nothing, it was not a big deal, but I could feel again very different kind of physical pain in my body. And I wasn't able to see related to certain people or whatever, right, circumstances that happened in this lifetime. And that's when I realized that the difference that I'm feeling, and it is mainly because I am getting that feeling of being suppressed. And I'm like, I know I have worked on it for years in this lifetime, but this is coming from arising from elsewhere. And I could sense it that it was coming over from like past life. And then through my curiosity of learning, knowing more about myself, and then astrology and everything, I could in fact even see patterns that okay, yes, like in the past lives, like I have probably gone through something. Like of course I don't know the details, but there are patterns that show that yes, this lifetime I have come here to work on my courage to stand up for myself. And whenever that's why when someone tries to overpower or suppress, I have that very, very weird feeling which I cannot explain in words. And that really unlocked a lot of things for me. And I'm continuing to work on my healing journey. But yeah, that is the other thing also. And I think the author touches upon that too, right? Like when he said that babies are born and some are born with, a denser pain body and whatnot. So it is being carried over from somewhere, right? From somewhere that the soul is coming from. So I think it relates to that. So I wanted to definitely share that. And something that I have realized and this is related to what Deepa had shared. I come from a family also where women have been working. Like my nani also was a working woman. All my aunts, maternal aunts, have worked. They're like most of them, just except one is exception. But yeah, they have all worked. So I come from that family. But my mom is a very strong, independent woman as well, and she was like my role model, right? Growing up, like that is the person I'm seeing. So it was obviously very evident that we are all being nurtured or conditioned also in a good way or bad way to be financially stable. So that which is the good part. But the other thing which I realized, the other thing I wanted to share was sometimes you realize about the pain body when you move away from a certain place and from certain people who are probably even re-emphasizing, not deliberately, but it is being strengthened with experiences, right? The pain body, because it suffices on that. So when I moved away and came to the US and have been here for a few years, and after getting married, after a few years is when I realized that what is this? I did not know I was processing trauma and all of that, and that's when it unraveled. And through all of these years of work, what I realized was that the pattern that I'm not enough, all of that was coming from the conditioning, especially of how the women were conditioned in the family. So the paradox here was that in my family, the women were working, but they were also expected to do all the household work. So not only was, the all of the responsibilities, the sacrifices were normalized, but we were also burdened with the burdened as in, not, again, there is no blaming here, but it was also a very normalized thing that, yeah, as a woman you need to do everything. And when my mom and dad visited 3 years ago, my mom told me this, that you are so smart, you can do this, you can do this, do that, blah blah blah, and just very, as a good mom, right? And trying to tell me what to do. She was telling me that, and I told her that, okay, do all of this for what? And she was like, no, to prove that so I asked her, so to prove what? And she was like, that you can do all of this, and to whom should I prove this? I asked her very politely, and she was like, to yourself. And then I told her that, no, mom, I'm done proving myself to others. I'm done proving myself to myself. I think I'm doing enough. But, I really appreciate the fact that you think I'm very capable of doing all of these things. So that day, 3 years ago, is when I realized that something has shifted within me. And I have really worked on this very deep rooted conditioning patterns and the trauma that maybe I'm even carrying from past lives. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share. Sorry, I think I took some time, but I thought that it will be helpful.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was helpful. Yes, very true. Even I could relate with it. My mom is also was also a working mom. So yeah, that comes as a this thing, right? Like when you have both ways, it comes both ways. Like when you have a working parent or a not working parent, both ways it affects your choices and decisions to quite an extent, I feel, and the influence is always there. So yeah, very true, very well said, and thank you for sharing that experience. All maybe it's really empowering for someone else over here. So yeah, anyone wants to share something, or we can even close for today. Otherwise, if we are all done. And yes, we most of our life, many a times, we are unknowingly trying to prove our things to others. Sometimes even to ourselves, sometimes to a parent, sometimes to someone else. But when we get into that mindset of proving, maybe sometimes even subconsciously, it really hampers us a lot, because then we are operating through a different energy altogether, and it's not a enjoyable experience as such, because we are doing it for someone else, to show someone else, rather than for ourselves and out of joy. So that really makes a lot of difference. I also got to like, after some inner work, I just got to realize that, okay, maybe I'm doing this to prove myself to my parents or something, and then that awareness literally liberated me from many of the choices I was doing then. So and it's a very easing feeling as such. So yeah, very true. Again, it's a way of seeking validation, right? Like when we want to prove, you are somewhere seeking validation, because it's someone else approval that defines your happiness or success, and that's not the right approach altogether. So yeah. So
Yeah, very true.
okay, yeah,
I want to
and
just
it's
thank
time to get out of it. Yeah. Thank you, Deepa. Yeah, everyone, yes, very wonderful shares and strong shares and discussions today.
yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Richa. That was very
Thank you.
powerful. And Viren, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Very
Thank you.
intense. Yeah.
I'm glad that our journeys are helping each other. We are all learning from
And
each
in
other.
fact,
That is the
no,
idea.
I also feel around this proving thing, many a times, even with kids and parents, it's the same thing. Like we try to force our kids to prove what? Like to prove they're smart, to prove to the society that see, we are so good. Somewhere I feel it comes from a place of I don't know, ego or unawareness or whatever. But it happens that way, and we are also kids of our parents. So somewhere we have also experienced it. So it always, so all this deep diving and understanding really helps to quite an extent. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
these beautiful shares and wonderful introspections. And I think we are just moving ahead with the book. So as the book takes us through the breaking free and all of that part, we'll have a lot of ideas and solutions also about how to work on this, how to process all this. Now, so we are just getting in the awareness as of now. So yeah, that's a great this thing. And thank you for showing up every day, because otherwise it would not make sense to any one of you if you just grasp it in parts. And if anyone has just missed any parts, I would highly recommend either you can go through the recordings, or you can read the book on your own, listen to the podcast. There's a lot of inner work that will happen automatically as you go through this book and process it. So please give yourself that chance. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Yes,
this.
and it was, I was very happy, Mansi, that yesterday I missed it, right? Because of my menstrual cycle, and I was in pain, and it was like terrible, and I had to use the restroom also multiple times. So I was like, no, I can't attend it, I can't focus. So I was like, yeah, I will definitely go through the recording. So when I went through the recording this morning, and I was still in some pain. It wasn't as bad as yesterday, but it helped me, I think it helped me take the focus away from that and more on the emotional pain body, than the physical pain that I was feeling. So that was also a very nice, good experience. And
Yes,
going through the shares, that everyone, and then the share part, I listened to it in the evening when I was doing my kitchen work. So that also helped me, right? Because again,
yes.
we learn.
It's
So,
all thanks to
and
Saurabh, who was just
yeah,
behind me to record, and he managed it everything.
right,
I was not technically aware of it also. How can it be done? So he has all made
right.
it very systematic, and because he personally wanted to listen, he said, I missed sessions many a times, and I would really want to go back and listen. So all thanks to him. Like, so we are just evolving,
Yeah,
right? We are just going with the flow, like,
grateful. Yeah,
and now I'm also very grateful, because sometimes some great shares or something happen, and we don't now miss out on that altogether. We can go back
right.
to it, or anyone
No,
else who
and
missed can watch.
yeah, yeah. And the other
And the
commendable thing
links are
is that,
also
as
not
you said,
shared or promoted as such. So it's also within the group itself, right? So we
correct.
just keep it to ourselves. So even the privacy is like, anyways, in group we don't share very very personal stuff anyways. So anyway, it is maintained. Like, we're trying to do that best. We don't keep promoting it. We just share it with whoever could be connecting with us at that level, like who would be really
Hmm.
keen on listening and genuinely interested. So yeah, that's it.
Correct.
So yeah.
No, it's very helpful, and thanks to Saurabh. And then the other commendable thing is that, like you rightly said, Mansi, you were thanking everyone for showing up, right? Like for such a deep book, which requires so much reflection, and that a level of awareness to tap into. I am really elated to see that, a lot of us are showing up for this consistently. So, huge kudos to all of us for that.
Yes, truly, it would we would never be able to continue without everyone's presence, right? So that's the biggest thing I
I
feel
am not
always.
able to hear you. I don't know if there is connection issue for
No, no,
me.
I, are you able to hear me now? I think there is a issue with you,
Are
I
others able
guess.
to hear?
I think I am audible.
Yeah,
Am
yeah.
I?
You're very much audible. Everyone is audible.
Yeah, maybe Richard's your connection issue.
Maybe yeah, it's coming in and out. So yeah, but anyways, yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's already 8:30 also, right? So yeah, you all
yeah,
have to
yeah.
carry on with
I
your
have
day.
taken the summary also, so we can close the room also. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Bye
All
bye.
right.
Take
Have a
care.
great
Yeah.
day. Bye. Bye.
Have great.